In this lesson, I will show you a more in-depth view of the User Interface Lagoon and locate Sketchbook Pro's tools and brushes where you want them, all of which can be custom positioned in the user interface for easy access and use. Customizing your User Interface Lagoon will streamline your workflow and productivity. To begin, go to the main menu bar and click on the Edit tab. Select Preferences, and let's go all the way to the right and click on the Lagoon tab. Now, as you can see, on this upper portion of the Lagoon tab is that it actually emulates what's going on down here on the lower left hand of your screen. And before we get too deep into this, let's go ahead and take a small tour on how we customize our Interface Lagoon. Now, as I click through these, you'll start to see all the different tools, brushes, and colors, editing tools, and file options that you have. Now, as you can see, I'm going to go back and you can see what's happening. I didn't really talk a lot about what's going on down here, but we will a little later. As you can see, you have a lot of options. And what these options are is they allow you to actually, while you're in a particular tool set, you can actually locate where you want those tools to be placed. Now, let's go to the top and start with the user interface display. In a nutshell, this control allows you to position your user interface and also allows you the option of having on or off. Very briefly, I would highly recommend that you leave your full UI on. So let's go ahead and go down to the top and take a look at what's going on here. Now, these buttons allow you to turn it on and off, and again, you can reposition them. You can position your Lagoon to be left or right side, and we'll go over that a little bit later. You can turn it off, and you can also have just the title bar alone. Next, let's talk about the drawing tools. Now again, what I've done here is I've arranged them in a positioning relationship that works best for the way I draw. Let me just share with you a little bit about what that is. This allows you to, as you select portions of your drawing, you can actually move, zoom, and rotate elements of the drawing. You can make lasso select, basically irregular selection. You can use a ruler tool, which allows you to create very precise straight lines. You have an ellipse tool, which allows you to create circles or ellipses. You have a layer tool. Again, we'll go into that in much greater depths in another lesson. Here are two tools, which we did talk a little bit in an earlier lesson. However, we will go into those in detail later. This is your symmetrical drawing tools. And this is an actual size tool, which allows you to bring your drawing back to an actual size so you're working one-to-one. Next is your brush tool. These are the drawing instruments. You have a pencil, an airbrush, a pen, a paintbrush, an eraser. You have a tool palette, which allows you to open up and look at your brush tools. You have a chisel point pen, and then you have a marker pen. And again, I've arranged them in an order so that as I draw, I like to use pencils, and I usually like to use airbrush for rendering some color or some shading, and then come back in with a ballpoint pen, which allows me to tighten up my lines, and allows me to also use that tight line to do copy or write callouts. Paintbrush tool works really great for dropping in background color. And I try to arrange them in this particular order so that it kind of allows me to chronologically build a drawing, and it kind of keeps me somewhat organized as I'm doing an illustration. The next tool on the interface is your color wheel. And again, I positioned the top color to be black. I figure that's going to be my default color. That's the color I'm going to use when I'm doing all my sketching. And I'm going to basically arrange all the colors here so that all the colors on my right side are going to be my cool range, and the colors on the left are going to be the warm range. And again, it's up to you how you want to do that. But again, you can select the location of where you want that color, and you can basically change that selection, you see? So we'll go to the green. Let's say we want orange there. Nah, I kind of like the green. Next, we're going to go to the editing options. And again, you have the marquee tool, which allows you to do uniform selection of items that you want to edit. You have a lasso selection, which allows you to lasso select irregular shapes. You have a clear tool or a delete tool that allows you to select and delete portions of your drawing. You have a copy and paste options, and these are great to keep together because usually if you're copying something, you want to place it immediately somewhere or perhaps on another layer. So there's a reason why those two are always together. You might want to be able to trim off a particular part of the drawing. This allows you to crop to selection, so you can actually crop and resize, which is a wonderful tool to have. And you may still want to have some ability to move and rotate and scale a portion of your drawing that you've selected. So that's kind of a nice thing to do. And again, just like before, let's say if you're drawing, you know what, I'm not too crazy about having a lasso select tool. I think I want to move my, let's say, rotate image clockwise tool. That's the way this interface works, is because what you want to do is always be able to locate a tool which is going to allow you to have the most productivity as you work. Well, let's go back to a lasso select because that's where I like it. I think that having those two selection tools together is really helpful. And the last one is what to do with the drawings after you've had a chance to edit them and draw on them and resize them. Now we want to save this drawing. So we have a few options here. We can go ahead and save the drawing. We have a variety of formats you can do that. You can actually open a new drawing if you decide that, well, you know what, I'm done with that drawing. Let's go ahead and start another one. We can advance to another image if you'd like to open something different. You can rotate the image if you'd like. Now, this might be a particularly really useful tool if you're perhaps using a pen tablet where you can't necessarily move the canvas physically. However, you can move the canvas digitally by using these tools. You can add an image. Let's say you want to use a photograph that you want to merge with your composition. That's a wonderful thing to have. Rotating image, again, another useful tool for rotating counterclockwise. You can open a previous image that you've worked on, or even open a previous Sketchbook Pro file or another file to work within your canvas. And again, back to File. And again, all of these can be custom selected and substituted. So you may double up on something that's to your preference. Again, that's the beauty of the Interface Lagoon, is that you can customize it to the way you draw. So let's go ahead and go back through. I'm going to go ahead and click back through these so that you can take one last look, because I'd like to share with you how all of that customization has created a custom drawing environment as we work within Sketchbook Pro. I like everything, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'd like to direct our attention to the lower left-hand portion of your screen. As you can see, here's the User Interface Lagoon. And as I click on these, I'm going to click on these very quickly, but you can start to see the exact same settings that we had already gone ahead and preset as we were setting our Lagoon. So let's go ahead and go through them. Okay, again, the user interface. Now here's something I'd like to demonstrate very quickly. For those of you that are left-handed, as some of you are, it's really tough to work in a right-handed environment. So what Sketchbook Pro has done is it's allowed you to have this option of actually dragging and selecting the Lagoon location to be on the right side. So it makes it a lot easier for reach-over access. That's a nice little feature they've put in. The next one is your toolbox. Again, taking a look at all your custom selected tools. So once you start sketching, it's really going to be great to be able to know where these tools are on the interface to allow you to move quickly. Again, sketching tools or your brush tools. Your color selector. Again, as we set up before, we have cool range, we have the warm range, your editing tools, and then your file tools. There are a couple of features that I haven't mentioned. I have mentioned in other lessons, but they also are here on the User Interface Lagoon, and that's the undo and redo keys. So what's really great about these is that you can undo and redo not only in your main menu, but also here in the Interface Lagoon. And you also have access to your toolbox, both your brushes, and you also your color selector. And to deselect those, go ahead and just tap on those again. You have successfully set your User Interface Lagoon preferences. As a reminder, you can always return to the Edit tab to make adjustments, and also reference the Help menu as a refresher. Custom positioning your favorite tools, brushes, and colors in the order that you sketch will further enhance your Sketchbook Pro experience.